Hi, I'm Gordon Lightfoot. The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. First it was 71 Yorkville. Anybody remember 71 Yorkville? It was a chest. Well, I was going to get around to that. Werner Graber. 71 Yorkville. It was a chess club. In that club played a duet, Malka and Yoso. I played that place for about a year and a half, and all of a sudden somebody started thinking, but why don't we do another coffee house? And so they did. They did the Village Corner, except it was about 5 blocks up the road, up at Pierce Avenue. I'm speaking loud so you can hear me. This thing is muffled. It is muffled. I hate that to do it too, man.
We can hear you.
Have a restless feeling. Anyway, the Village Corner was right at the beginning, the dawn of the folk revival that occurred in 1960 and lasted until 1963, when the Beatles came along and blew us all out of airtime. During that time, there were television shows. There was one down here right in Canada by a guy named Let's Sing. Oscar Brand did it. A couple of big ones in the States. There was Hootenanny. Ian and Sylvia appeared on that one. My manager wouldn't let me appear on it. He didn't think I was ready. When they asked me to sing at the Grammy Awards, he said I wasn't ready. That was Al Grossman. He was one of the most amazing people I ever met. The first time that he ever came to listen to me play, because they were getting ready to offer me a management contract at that time, they came to the Purple Onion. They came to the Purple Onion to do the audition. And they sat on kegs. They sat on flower kegs with cushions on them. It was a very tight room. Very tight room. I worked for Al Lastman, I worked for Mel, and I worked for Sam Lastman before the three brothers were around. One of them went on to become one of our very colorful mayors in a little different way than Rob Ford did, but just as colorful and just as popular. Mel Lastman. They owned the Village Corner. They're the Purple Onion. And they let me in, they gave me a date there, and I did very successfully. The one show I there got my audition in and got my management contract set before me. But being the conservative kind of Canadian that I am, I had to think about it for 3 months, and finally, Ian Tyson, my friend, talked me into signing the contract. Ian Tyson talked me into it. And he and Sylvia had just done 2 of my songs on their latest album. They had presented these songs to Peter Paul and Mary in New York, who were also managed by Albert Grossman, and the songs got recorded, and the next thing I knew, I had one at number 5 in the Billboard chart, down there south of the border. And, then came the management contract, and I signed, and the next thing I knew, I was a working stiff, and I had a band, and I better write songs, and I did. I wrote 5 albums for 5 years.
Fantastic.
One of the highlights of the whole thing was, and I'm going to get back to Yorkville again. It was the Mariposa Folk Festival. I remember Jerry Gray and his band, the Travelers, so very well and distinctly and vividly performing at the Mariposa Folk Festival at night in the outdoors with a crowd of about 10,000 people. Doing a whole repertoire of songs, not just This Land, This Your Land. They had a fabulous repertoire. When the folk revival began, the Travelers had already started. They'd started a long time ago. They had a huge repertoire down east folk songs and stuff from a lot of maritime folk songs. They were already doing these things, so they fell into the folk revival with a great gusto, I would say, Jerry, wouldn't you? The Travelers. They were Indiana and Sylvia. The highlights, and everybody was there. Grossman was there, and John Cork was there, and everybody, you know, John Cork. He was Albert's partner. It was just a really wonderful time. I did not make the first Mariposa Folk Festival because my partner Terry Whalen and I, the Two Tones, who actually recorded, made an album, a live album at the Village Corner, with dialogue that made it look kind of like a Smothers Brothers. That's what they were doing. At that time on television, I remember some of the lines that Les Pouliot wrote for us, the Pat Owens. We were getting ready to do Dark as a Dungeon in the entrance service. There have been many graphic songs written about the coal mines. Well, how did I get here? I was supposed to perform too, but I remember that we ran into a bit of trouble in the middle of the recording session, and there was an actor by the name of Joel Austin who was in the audience that night, and he started getting into a little trouble, and he said in his actor's voice, he said, "Good God, we built the canal at Panama with less trouble than this." So that's all on the record and everything. So Terry and I, we broke up after that because I didn't want a partner. It was just one of those things, you know. Mutual pooling of talents, we tried writing together. We tried writing apart. He tried writing, I started writing, and by golly, I tell you, I was working on a country music show at the time. I was a square dancer and a choral performer called Country Hoedown. Because I was doing a lot of gigs, I was doing a lot of different stuff. I was working on TV as a choral performer and doing the coffee houses at night and it was just really wonderful experience. Riverboat fell into the picture. The riverboat took over from everybody, and they ran for about 10 years after that, right through the end of it. Meanwhile, Yorkville was going up all around it, and the old houses were staying there, but they still are there, aren't they? I don't go there that often. Are they still there? Are the old houses still in the old houses? They tell me they had to take out a graveyard to build that house in back in the 18th century. Is that true? They wound up in the Rosedale Valley, and some of the bodies got washed out during Hurricane Hazel in 1956. People called the police and said there's bodies lying by the road on the Rosedale Valley. But anyway, that's one of those side stories. But you know, look at it now. I mean, look at Yorkville now. My goodness gracious, what a town. You know, you can knock out like 10 million just for a condo. I mean, I wouldn't do it personally myself, you know, I wouldn't have like bread either. But, then there's a great big one that's about 50 stories tall on the northeast corner. I watched them build that from my office up at Yonge and St. Clair every day. When I drive into my office to go to to the city parking lot to go to my office, which I do 4 days a week, because when I'm not touring, I run a company. During the time of Yorkville, I had creative management in New York. I had a guy there who could walk down 7th Avenue and make a record deal for you. And they did that. They got me on United Artists and that contract. We worked our way through that. I got the next thing they signed me with was Warner Brothers out in LA, and I went on to make 14 more albums after that. It just went, you know. It's no wonder that it was so different. happened is, in the middle of it all, I had to give up alcohol. So drinking some was killing me. It was actually killing me. As I did my friend Janice Joplin eventually. But then I think she drank more than I did. And I drank a bottle of it until 1982. But I was tried for 23 years. But then when I almost died in 2002, I was out of business for 2.5 years. I had a glass of wine and blew the whole thing out down at George Bigliardi's restaurant one night. I had a glass of wine, and I broke a 23-year dry stretch. Oh, have I drank since? Have I drank since? Yes, I have. But I remember, best of all, the best and the most memorable day I ever had was when I went out to Stompin' Tom Connor's house. And spent the afternoon there with Stompin' Tom, and he had a very unique place. He had a 2,500 song digital converted jukebox. And when I walked in there, he had 5 of my tunes playing. He had it set up like a bar with a his and hers. He had a pool table. He had chairs, tables, and a moon review. St. Gordy said I used to sit out here in the moonlight and write songs for the moonlight. And this guy wrote about 500 or 600 songs. He's a huge, he's had 40, 50 albums. Something that I was a great fan of Tom Connor's. Sorry, when he died, I went to his memorial and did a tune there, which was just a while ago. But I had 5 moose heads that afternoon. 5 moose heads. And Stompin' Tom, and boy, he had no trouble at all. He was thin as a fence post his whole life, and he loved to drink beer and boy. I tried, and what a great songwriter he was. Okay, how have I done here? And Yorkville. It was a training exercise. Do like 3 sets a night in the riverboat and stuff. Not a big deal. You know, you play until your chops were almost falling off. Your chops were almost falling off. You know what I mean? And there we go. Had a great time. I'm still not. Gee, what? Am I? Did I come here really to speak? Because I wasn't sure if I was going to be playing. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gordon, for